level administration officials.
I'm not sure why we take anybody in this senior level of the Trump administration at their word. That's why it's so important that we're going to get a chance to question these individuals.
Virginia Democratic Senator Mark Warner says there seems to be a convenient pattern where all of the senior officials of the Trump campaign forget about meetings with Russians. Warner calls it unbelievable that neither Donald Trump Jr. nor Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, shared that info with their dad, the candidate. The meeting took place with a Russian lawyer. Kentucky Republican Senator Rand Paul says there are not enough votes to pass the Republican health care overhaul bill in the Senate.
This bill keeps most of the Obamacare taxes, keeps most of the regulations, keeps most of the subsidies, and creates something that Republicans have never been for. That's a giant insurance bailout super fund.
Paul is one of the opponents of the Republican health care bill.
Hey, what's up? It's hour number 2. Hour number 2 of Super Hyper Local Sunday.
Scully, who retired as the Dodgers play-by-play man after last season, weaved the words of Abe Lincoln's speeches into the music of the LA Philharmonic Thursday evening. He said giving voice to Lincoln was one of the most
I'm looking for this really hard to find video. My good friend Kennedy, who, of course, we used to do Kennedy in Suits here on KFI. One of the most infamous, horrible interviews of all time was when she went on, it was the premiere of Mission Impossible in Westwood, and Martin Landau was there as a guest. He played the original Rollin Hand on the TV series. Kennedy had no idea that he was ever involved in the original Mission Impossible. She just thought he was a VIP at the red carpet. And she said, and you're who? And she's like 25 at the time. You're who? I'm Martin Landau. And she said, are you excited about this movie? And he goes, well, yeah, I'm glad it finally got to the big screen. And she had no idea if he finally caught on. And he said, you have no idea who I am or why I'm even here. And she said, no, who are you? And he said, I'm Martin Landau. I was in the original Mission Impossible TV series. And in this, I can't find it.
He was. Did you ever see that TV show?
Yeah, it was horrible, but at the time
He was great in it.
Yeah, but also as the henchman in North by Northwest.
Yes.
As James Mason's weasel. Yeah, how much time do we have?
1 minute here.
That was Johnny Wendell from the communist night guy on KEIB. Just came in here. He's a nice guy. He's a really nice guy. But, he's a commie. Like a huge commie bastard. But a nice guy. For a huge commie bastard. But a nice guy.
CLEARME.com/LAX for your first 3 months free. Hurry, this offer ends soon. ClearMe.com/LAX.
Southland weather, KFI, it's going to be clouds and fog for the late night hours. Lows 60 for the most part. Sunny for the most part in the afternoon tomorrow. Beach highs mid to upper 70s, mid to upper 80s tomorrow for the LA and Orange County metro areas. Upper 80s to low 90s for the valleys, 93 to near 100.
All right, we start the show. We can't start the show till this?
Lake Forest, 76 in Burbank, and 69 degrees in Marina Del Rey. We lead local from KFI's 24-hour newsroom. I'm Michael Chappé.
Yeah! Glendale!
Super Hyper Local Sunday with Brian Suits.
We start with breaking news from Hollywood. People stabbed and shot.
It looks like we're coming to a stop out here. The door is open. This guy is getting out of the vehicle. What? Oh, he's got a gun. He has got a gun. Yeah, this is not going to end very well.
That's why I'm voting for Eric Garcetti.
Super Hyper Local Sunday with Brian Suits on KFI.
KFI AM 640, more simulating talk. Well, if you're not watching Game of Thrones, then congratulations. But if you're DVRing it because you want to binge watch it later, then you need to really rethink your choices, because I'm probably going to drop some spoilers on this. 2 celebrity deaths are rippling through Hollywood. Longtime actor and very famous character actor Martin Landau dead at the age of 89, and then director George Romero, who single-handedly, you could say, invented a genre of film. The success arrived at his doorstep, and then it packed up and left, and then it came back, and it packed up and left. He never got a piece of The Walking Dead, but just to be honest, I mean, here, the guy who invented Night of the Living Dead and all that, and putting live human actors in street clothes and dressing them up as recently dead, which turned out to be pure Cold War crack for people, because the cult film Night of the Living Dead, from its context of unexplainedly people rising from the dead, as a news event, that movie still is studied in film school because it's weird. It's shot as part documentary and then part first person. But Night of the Living Dead is iconic. If you've never seen it, you should see it. If you don't do horror movies, then I would just say that you should justify that opinion by watching that one and then telling me that there's zero merit in it. And I get it. I understand people say, I don't do it, because I don't do any of those Friday the 13th, any of those. None of those. Yeah, I don't, because I get it. They open the closet and a mop falls out, and then the soundtrack stops and everyone goes, oh, and then, it's a device that's used, and it has been used for 30 years. For Romero, his premise was the dead are coming back alive and they want to eat the living. We don't know why. There's no explanation. There's no magical cure. There's nothing. You just have to stay alive. And so you watch Night of the Living Dead, and if you watch that and say, nope, there's zero artistic merit in that, then go ahead and have your little opinion. But anyway, he's dead, and it's, they should put that on his headstone. The guy invented a genre. Now, here's the thing. There were zombie movies before. There were movies where the hero would travel to Haiti or the Caribbean, and there would be spells placed on the dead. And then, of course, The Mummy was dead for thousands of years, and a spell was placed and came back alive. But the mummy was wearing rags. The mummy never unwrapped. The mummy wasn't wearing Levi's, in a T-shirt. And that was what Romero did, was he took our everyday life in the mall or in a house surrounded by zombies, and he took people that looked like us, that were wearing our clothes, but they were falling off. They were falling apart at the joints here and there. And then Martin Landau, dead at the age of 89. And here's my thing with Martin Landau. He was in a whole bunch of stuff. Great actor. Never broke through as the lead guy on things. He relished his role as the henchman in so many things, or the second guy, like in the iconic TV series Mission Impossible, in which I can't honestly even remember in reruns except for the opening sequence. He was Roland Hand, which I don't know. I know that Peter Graves was the main guy, was Ethan Hunt, who was the main guy. I don't remember Martin Landau I guess I don't. Le Mission Impossible. And so who was he? Like he was the number 2 guy, right? I thought it was Peter Graves. And then he had to take the reel to reel. The thing started blowing up. Yeah. And his probably I would say his most famous film role was the Hitchcock film North by Northwest, which is still in my top 5. I have a top 5 with about 40 movies in it, and there's a bunch of ties, but it's one of the and I just played James Mason punching Martin Landau right here. Ow! Martin Landau falling backwards. So the movie North by Northwest is terrific. James Mason is this cold as ice villain. who does none of his own dirty work. He just informs his future target that they're seconds away from dying. It's a brilliant film. North by Northwest. It's one of the best films ever made. But Martin Landau is the henchman. He is the guy who makes the threats and the Snickers and the whole thing. And I didn't know this. But Martin Landau claims recently that in the film North by Northwest, he played the character of the henchman as gay, which I have no clue what difference it made in 1959, because he was a henchman. He's wearing a blue suit and a gray tie. Of course, he's in shape and he's dressed well. So, I mean, you know what that means. But he claims that he played the role as gay. I don't know. He's not like crying over Judy Garland or anything. He's just talking to Cary Grant and threatening him, and it's all very chilling. Here's a little bit of Martin Landau and James Mason in North by Northwest. And Cary Grant, of course, who was an actor of note.
Good evening.
Very moody. This is back when you could do 10 seconds of silence in a movie. Can't do that anymore. Can't even do it in radio. Let me get to the Martin Landau part. The footsteps, were they ominous? He played it ominous. So James Mason is an evil genius, and he's working for foreign intelligence agencies, and he's mistaken Cary Grant for a guy who has information that he wants. He brings in Martin Landau for as the heavy.
This very room a theater.
Here comes Martin
Leonard,
Landau.
Have you met our distinguished guest? He's a well-tailored one, isn't he? My secretary is a great admirer of your methods, Mr. Kaplan. Elusiveness, however misguided.
Wait a minute. Wait. Did you call me Kaplan?
I know you're a man of many names, but I'm perfectly willing to accept your current choice.
Current choice? My name is Thornhill. Roger Thornhill. There's never been anything else.
Of course.
So obviously, your friends picked up the wrong package when they bundled me out here in the car.
So what happened during that last 10 seconds was Martin Landau pulled out a cigarette case, and he opened it and held it down to James Mason. James Mason took out a cigarette, and then Martin Landau closed it back up, put it back in his jacket in a very gay way, extremely gay. That's a very gay cigarette putting away.
Do sit down, Mr. Kaplan.
Now he gets out the lighter.
I'm not Kaplan, whoever he is.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
So anyway, Landau is terrific in North by Northwest, and like I say, in 2012 he told the Telegraph he chose to play Leonard the secretary as gay, and like I say, I've got no clue, but it's a genius of a film. Martin Landau dead, and there was one of the worst interviews ever broadcast on MTV. He was the innocent party on one side of that interview. It was the debut, the premiere of Mission Impossible, the original movie Mission Impossible, in like 96, 97 in Santa Monica or in Westwood, right? And Martin Landau was there, Peter Graves was there, all the guys from the original TV show were there. Martin Landau was on the red carpet, and a certain MTV host put the mic in his face and started asking him questions about the movie with absolutely no idea that he used to be on the TV show. Yes. And it's legendary, and you can't find it on the interwebs, but I happened to speak to that particular MTV host a little while ago. Yeah. And I mean, you know, like I say, I love her like a sister, but it is legendary. It's one of the worst, most awkward red carpet interviews of all time. I mean, you can line up all the Ryan Seacrests you want, and you will not get something as awkward as the host. As the host who has no clue that Martin Landau was in Mission Impossible. She knew that. She knew he was in Edward. What was it? No, Ed Wood. Yeah, but not Mission Impossible. Anywho, it's the Super Hyper Local Sunday. The news keeps rolling on. We keep reading it. We'll get back to a whole lot of money for not many homeless veterans. And where else but L.A. County? That and more coming up. KFI AM640, more stimulating talk. Michael Chabot with the news.
Well, as Brian said, actor Martin Landau died. known for his role in the 60s TV series Mission Impossible. Landau was 89. His film
Yeah, that's a true story. Yeah, Kennedy
Hitchcock's North by Northwest.
had no idea who the guy was.
Ed Wood, that's where Landau won a Best Supporting Actor Oscar in 1995.
Do you really believe John McCain has a blood clot, or do you think they're delaying the vote on that? Why didn't Kennedy and Suits stay on? Let's be honest, it was ahead of its time. It was probably too smart for the room. Should not have been on at 7 p.m. Probably should have been on at, from 10 to 2. Yeah, we our candle burned at both ends, and the light that burns twice as bright burns half as long. So Kennedy and Suits was on for about a year and a half right here in this studio, but it was probably the most fun I've had in radio, because she and I have wanted to work together forever, and we might again. So let's see what, and also there were some conflicts, not with me, but with other people off air. But it worked. I mean, she and I worked, and you know what? I'll tell you what. We got offers from other stations after we broke up, and I went back solo. We got calls. But we both decided that if we were not on KFI, we didn't want to do a show together. So that's kind of how it works, that there's KFI and then there's everybody else in radio, and so it's kind of hard to settle for something else unless it's national syndication. So. Yeah, Tim Conway's dad, he's not kidding. I'm a huge fan of Tim Conway, and his dad really was a fan. And I didn't know. I never, I didn't know. By the way, do you see over here the questions? Or is that just me? I don't know. I have a burst blood vessel. See that thing?
Oh, stop the presses. Times is saying Caitlyn Jenner's considering a bid for U.S. Senate.
The L.A. Times?
L.A. Times. Caitlyn Jenner considering bid for U.S. Senate in California. That can't be right.
As a Republican?
I don't know. I got the headline. Let me look at the rest.
Caitlyn Jenner is Senate? Are you fucking kidding me? So if you answer a question without repeating it, we don't know the subject which was asked. That's true. Yeah, Kid Rock. Who grew up rich. He's not like some poor kid or whatever.
Story says it's a lifelong Republican.
Yeah, I guess so. Just because he cut his dick off doesn't mean he can't be a Republican.
Did he do that? President Trump supporter? Wow.
Yeah, he went to all the inaugural balls.
I wasn't clear if he actually had that snip thing.
Yeah, he has now. When he went to the I think he had his balls when he went to the inaugural balls. How much time?
A few minutes.
All right, what should I play here? We have to kill 2 roosters tomorrow, and my daughter actually wants to. She nominated one. There's one of our roosters is a complete asshole, and she wants to take him out personally. All right, rank and file. The conductor wore black. No, it's actually really simple. You make a cone out of plastic. You make what's called a killing cone, and their head sticks through it. You just cut their throat and let them bleed out, and then you douse them in hot water, not boiling water, but about 150 degrees for about 15 seconds. Then their feathers just come off. Then you got to gut them. Yeah, tomorrow night we're gonna do a 2-for-1. We're gonna freeze one and eat one. Never gonna. Oh, I'll do that. 1 minute. Okay. Yep. All right. Yeah, I will rickroll your ass. Okay. Did you all read that? Some guy. Where is he? Haywood Jablomi. Oh, I know who that is. Okay. You know what? Guess what, dude? I will chase you down for that. Wait, Rick. All right. Done. And do it. Make it out to Stock Dog Rescue. Rick Astley. That's right. What's that? Someone on YouTube said they would donate $100 to an animal charity of my choice if I played Rick Astley. Yeah. Oh no, I'm all set here. There you go. KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk. It is Super Hyper Local Sunday, and I rickrolled all of you, didn't I? Thought you were going to hear some Foghat, and then Rick Astley comes right at you. Like a spider monkey, which he's famous for. And I did that because I'm on YouTube Live right now. If you go to Dark Secret Place or unsheepyourself.com, if you go to unsheepyourself.com, that will take you to my YouTube channel, and I'm doing YouTube Live right now. And someone said, and I happen to know who this person is, they're trying to use a fake name. They said they would donate $100 to the animal charity of my choice if I played Rick Astley, if I rickrolled him. And I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. That's cheap. I would never do that. Everyone hates Rick Astley. I'm not going to do it. But then you know what? Boom, $100. There you go. Speaking of money wasted, wait till we get to this. A $5 million program, county program, to house homeless vets. Can't quite produce enough. $5 million worth of homeless vets, as it turns out. Remember the close call at SFO? This was now coming up on a week ago. It was, more than a week ago. Last Friday night, Air Canada is lining up to land east to west, kind of like Asiana 2 years ago. And it's nighttime. The sun's down, and the pilot is lined up on the taxiway. The taxiway are the smaller, more narrow paved bits on the outside of the runways. And there's a south and a north taxiway. And when you get to the end of them, you turn on to the main runways, which are right next to each other. So the Air Canada dude was supposed to be lined up on the runway. He was lined up on the taxiway. And it was the pilots on the ground who said, hey, tower, there's a Airbus that's about to land on us with a whole bunch of Canadians, don't you know, eh? Well, it's even worse than apparently thought. On Friday, not the day of the incident a week ago, but 2 days ago, Canada's Transportation Safety Board said early indications are that the flight came within just... And I have to set this up. Remember, originally they said the planes, the Air Canada plane, pulled up with about 300 feet. And so it looked to the pilots like the plane was very, very close, but it actually was 300 to 400 feet. Well, it was an Air Canada plane, the Canadian Transportation Safety Board said on Friday that the flight actually came within 29 feet of one plane. And it overflew the first 2 aircraft by 100 feet. So in other words, the guy had to apply throttle. And if you don't know this, jet engines are not NASCAR. They're not dragsters. They actually have to spin up to RPM. They don't. You can firewall. Maverick can firewall his F-14, but it doesn't respond like a Suzuki rice rocket. Jet engines take time for throttle response. That's the one big downside on them. So as the pilot realized his mistake, and SFO said, "Hey, fly around," meaning throttle up, yank your flaps up, and do a fly around. Get back around, back in the pattern. He applies throttle, but it takes time to get a response. In that time, he crosses the threshold. He passes over the lead 2 planes, and he's still descending. So he passes over the first plane, the pilot who said, "Hey, WTF," he's at 100 feet and still descending when finally gets throttle response. So there's 4 planes in line. He's still descending at plane 1, plane 2. He bottoms out at 29 feet above plane 3. I mean, it really is a miracle that we're not, a week later, still talking about hundreds dead at 2 a.m. at SFO. The Ross Amer, a retired air captain and CEO of Aero Consulting, said, "We're talking less than a second from disaster." He said, quote, "It's an easy thing to do for mistaking a taxiway with a runway, especially in a dark night." Air Canada 759, I'm not going to read the transcript from the tower, but about a half mile out, the Air Canada pilots seemed to realize something was wrong, but they continued anyway. The tower ordered the plane to go around at the last second, which is too late. Literally the last half second, because again, like I say, jet engines don't respond like that. And the guy is slowing down and he's blowing the flaps and the gear down because he thinks he's going to gently touch down at SFO and roll out for another smooth landing. He's not ready to, like Maverick, to miss arresting wire number 3 and go around on the USS Tom Cruise. Anyway, there were 140 people on the Air Canada flight, hundreds more on the planes on the ground. One of the 4 aircraft had over 300 people on it. The others had an average of 250 people on it. So we're talking about 1,000 people on the ground. The momentum of the Air Canada plane with 140 people. Keep in mind, we're talking about a heavier than air craft that weighs tons and tons and tons. And they don't land on fumes. They land with a, pretty robust bag of gas. And so the thing would have hit and collided, undoubtedly taking out at least 2 of the 4 aircraft, possibly more. And it would have been probably the worst domestic American crash. What is the worst airliner disaster in the history of airlines? It was 2 747s colliding in the Canary Islands. One 747 had just landed and had not pulled off on the taxiway because there was fog on the runway. The tower crew were watching a World Cup qualifying match when they sent the KLM Dutch plane down the runway to take off. As he rotated his nose up, out of the fog, there's a Pan Am 747. The KLM plane hits him, biffs him in half. He explodes. The KLM 747 goes pancaking down the runway. 800 people dead. My dad was still in the FAA when that happened. He was still an accident investigator. And that was the worst crash. It never happened on the air. It happened on the ground. So there you go. Some context. 78, 79. Tenerife, Tenerife in the Canary Islands. It's a Spanish island. The tower controllers were watching a World Cup. They were distracted. They were watching a qualifier. The airport was fogged in. They didn't see that Pan Am missed the peel off from the taxiway, and they sent KLM. The last words of the KLM pilot, a Dutchman, his last words were Himmel und Pankaka, heaven and pancakes. That's the equivalent of holy crap to a Dutchman. Normally, an American would have said, holy F-wording S, and then karunk. But no, the Dutchman said heaven and pancakes, and then he hit the Pan Am plane. We'll be back right after this super hyper local Sunday, including air to air and air to ground trivia. KFI M640, more stimulating talk. Michael Chapin with the news. What do you mean? No. Yeah, that's what's weird about YouTube Live. I don't know. No, Dutch. The Dutch say heaven and pancakes. Himmel and pankaka. Let's see, what did I miss? Oh, veteran charity. Oh. Yeah, Fisher House or Stock Dog Rescue. Well, I'm complaining about you, Jalu, you bitch. Yeah, I did. My dad was a Marine Corps aviator. I was in Navy ROTC. I was a Marine option. When you go into Navy ROTC, you have to you have to if you want to be a Marine officer in Navy ROTC, you designate as a Marine option. My dad flew the F-8 Crusader, the RF-8, the reconnaissance variant of the F-8 Crusader, and the Bearcat, the F-8F Bearcat. And so I was a Marine option in Navy ROTC in college, and I wanted to be a Marine Corps aviator, and I got the physical and I got the MOS. The MOS is like 189 for Marine Corps aviator. So I got that full flight physical when I was 18 at Fairchild Air Force Base up in Spokane. And I got an Air Force Lieutenant Colonel flight surgeon, a female, stick her finger up my ass at the age of 18, and it wasn't even a Friday. I bailed out of Navy ROTC because I realized that it was a little too serious for me at the time, and also Seattle was booming, and so I wanted to go try being a civilian for a couple of years, and then I wound up going into the Army Reserve to pay for grad school. Yeah, I think you're probably talking about 338 Lapua, right? I'm a huge fan, and by the way, if you're wondering, if I had a choice between 338 Lapua and 300 Win Mag, I would go with 300 Win Mag. I like the ballistics better. I like the ballistic path better. It's just better math, easier to reload. I'm real big on the 300 Win Mag. So that 338 Lapua, that's neat. And well, not till later. I didn't bust a nut right there in the examination room. Yeah, it's all tricked out and everyone likes it. The British still like it, but the British also, by the way, they love 300 Win Mag. So they really love it. I was a placeholder at Kogo. I never moved to San Diego. I was doing Kogo from Seattle because they needed somebody for 5 months. Because they had that guy, Chris Merrill, who came in, but he had a contract running out in Ohio. So they didn't know that, and his radio station wouldn't let him out. So I filled in for 5 months while they hired Chris Merrill. You hear that guy fill in here. He's on KFYI in Phoenix or something like that. He didn't work out in San Diego. He did not work out in. I trust you. That's fine. Yeah, he didn't work out at Kogo, and also the guy who was the program director of Kogo was kind of a crap weasel. He was kind of a dick, and he was a Clear Channel program director, and I was supposed to finish up on a Monday, right? How much time do we have? I was supposed to finish up on a Monday. And in radio, you never let someone that you're going to let go do a final show because they always freak out or whatever. I've never freaked out. I've been fired by better people than this dickhead in San Diego. So anyway, I do the Friday show, and Monday's a holiday, and I said, all right, I'll see you Monday. And he comes on and he goes, oh, hey, we don't need you on Monday. So he was treating me like some dick that he'd fired. And I called back down here to the boss here, and I said, let me tell you what your colleague just did in San Diego. I've been on that station for 5 months doing him a fucking favor. And I finished up on Friday. Monday was supposed to be my last day. And he told me he doesn't need me Monday. So that guy, by the way, is he's no longer programming Kogo. So there. You know what? If you know anything about Michael Savage personally, it's really, really hard to respect the guy. What you hear when you hear the way I talk right now and my politics and all that, I don't lie on the air. Okay, I'm not playing a character. I'm not Glenn Beck, even though I grew up with Glenn Beck. We were in youth and government up in Seattle, up in Washington. I don't like people that play a character on the air. KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk. It is Super Hyper Local Sunday. Brian Suits wrapping up the weekend of news and dead folks and all that. Right about now, I think on Game of Thrones, I think Tyrion Lannister. I think right about now someone is saying that that as long as there's only one wolf left, the sheep will be afraid. A great quote. And if it hasn't come up yet on the show, I totally apologize. I'm totes apologetic on that one. So we are getting word that the LA Times, and Michael Chappé, you're saying we're citing the LA Times as a source on this, that Caitlyn Jenner, Bruce Jenner, is mulling a Senate run. And as irrelevant as hell. And here's what Caitlyn Jenner is up against here. You first have to get all of the California Republicans on your side. And yes, California Republicans, the line forms here, we dislike Dianne Feinstein. But there are a lot of California Republicans who still, frankly, to be dead honest, if Caitlyn Jenner wants someone to speak honestly with him, I will, who are frankly kind of weirded out by the fact that you cut your Johnson off, and in spite of whatever you say about your identity and who you are, I salute you, and I'm glad that you have made your choice and you're happier. If you were sad all of your life, then I'm glad you're happy now. The whole thing. But the problem is there are a lot of Republicans, a lot of Orange County Republicans, who just frankly think something's a little bit off. Yeah, and that's, like I say, that's just the thing about this gigantic public display that you made about the fact that the entire world needed to know and had to accept that you did this, and so the dust is settled on that. Here's the other ugly secret about Caitlyn Jenner. Bruce Jenner had little or nothing to say. When they cut Bruce's wanger off, it's not like Caitlyn suddenly had 100 points of IQ added. That thing doesn't make men that stupid. When you cut it off, you don't become William F. Buckley, because Caitlyn Jenner doesn't have a heck of a lot to say. I mean, he was an empty suit as a gold medalist and as a Wheaties cover and the whole thing. And so I'm afraid whoever the Democrats put up against him, they're gonna slaughter him. And so that's kind of the bad news. So if you're thinking of writing him a check for some exploratory committee, save your money. The Republicans can do way better than Caitlyn Jenner. And if the thinking is that sympathetic liberals would feel guilty of voting against him, believe me, his politics will supersede his vagina. There is absolutely, sorry, your personal life journey is not going to overcome what liberals think of Republicans. Full stop. Josh, is this up? Because this Caitlyn Jenner talk has been brought to you by Johnson Outboard Motors.
You got your sunrise, you caught a prize, you're making your Johnson. Party nights,
We got maybe SWAT dealing with the situation in Seal Beach.
rooster tails, water trails, your kids and your Johnson. Saturday nights, distant lights, your girl and your Johnson. You and your Johnson, a way of life for over 50 years.
And a proud sponsor of Caitlyn Jenner Senate Talk. So we'll take a break and come back here in just a second. Yeah, $5 million thrown at homeless veterans, but there's not enough to catch it. Also, some Trump supporters and Trump opponents clashing in downtown LA. Some are arrested, some are not, and we'll wrap up the weekend in news here in the Southland on Super Hyper Local Sunday, right after this KFI M640. More stimulating talk. Michael Chappé with the news. That, by the way, is a real commercial. Yeah, darksecretplace.net at the Maven. We're putting content up there, and we're going to start pushing video onto that. So, yeah, it's really, really weird how people who never served in the military claim to be really, really good friends with all these special ops guys. Like Sean Hannity is absolutely positive that he knows, these tier 1 operators and all this crap. And there's plenty of assholes in special operations who want to, rub up against a celebrity, but they tend not to be the real guys. And also people who have never served in the military, like Sean Hannity, are really, really easily impressed. I'm very skeptical about my fellow talk show hosts who claim to have all these connections, because they don't know a bad connection from a good connection. They don't know a bullshitter. And there's this one guy, this one former SEAL, who is very, very much in the online information space, doing very, very well. The guy has zero respect in the community. Total bullshitter. In fact, he's such a bullshitter, he takes dead naval special warfare guys' war stories and he makes them his own. So he's kind of an asshole in the community, but he's making all this money online, and then he goes and he gets on the phone with Glenn Geck or Han Shanity. I don't want to use their real names. And they think he's like the real deal. So.
That problem continues. That is on the south side of La Paz Road. The 3 right lanes are blocked by fire crews. Looking at a jam up from El Toro Road. And that's on fire. Baldwin Park, 10 west at Baldwin Park Boulevard. A crash in the center lane. Slamming up the driver.
Yeah, he's a flat out nut. But you know what? Jesse Ventura won the libel suit against Chris Kyle's estate. If Chris Kyle had lived, American Sniper would never have been made, because Chris Kyle was a liar. The guy made shit up. He was a bullshitter. He claimed to have knocked out Jesse Ventura. He never did. Ventura won that libel case. They had to, HarperCollins had to reprint the book, take that section out of the book. Half the royalties went to Ventura. And then Chris Kyle claimed that he got on the roof of the Superdome after Hurricane Katrina and was shooting looters. You know, so they left that part out of the movie. You know, I ain't saying nothing. And don't even start me on Pat Tillman. I thank him for his service. There needs to be a rule that right after the bomb drops on the USS Arizona or the plane hits the tower on 9/11, celebrities cannot join the military after the war starts. That would be my rule. All right, final bumper. Yeah, it was blue on blue. And he wouldn't have died if he hadn't jumped up and waved his hands and yelled, "I'm Pat fucking Tillman." That's a quick way to eat a fucking 50 caliber bullet. Military Monday, we're moving it to Tuesday. And I wanted to rename it Pew Pews Day, but Handle didn't get that. So it's going to be Tactical Tuesday. So I wanted really badly to do Pews Day or Pew Pews Day, but we're going to call it Tactical Tuesday or something like that. Jose and Chloe? I know. Pews Day is fucking awesome, right? But when you have to explain it to the host, it doesn't quite work. What is my bumper? What should it be?
2 minutes. You got your bumper?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Well, Kendall, you're saying Los Angeles from X?
All right.
Which one do you want? I know. Pew Pews Day. It fucking writes itself. Hey, it's not Tuesday. It's Pew Pews Day. Goddamn, you know? Jocelyn and Chloe. Okay. All right, I'll queue up. I don't like that live version. All right, there we go. All right, I am queued. Spinning the hatch, everybody. Where was that SWAT thing? Where did someone see SWAT at Seal Beach at 8:30? Excuse me. Wow, that fell out. I had epic Brussels sprouts. KFI at 640. This is more stimulating talk. Hey, it's Super Hyper Local Sunday. And one last time, because the news is going to just frankly stop at 10 p.m. And also, we do have a rare closure on one particular story. Remember the weirdo story about the woman, the 31-year-old woman who triggered an Amber Alert because she carjacked her friend and took her 16-year-old son with her and the whole thing? Well, the entire deal fell apart. It turns out to be a spat between two friends or whatevs. So if you got that Amber Alert and then you went into settings and notifications and you turned off Amber Alerts, you have this woman to thank for it. A woman who falsely reported that her Toyota Camry had been carjacked in South LA with her 16-year-old son inside sparked an Amber Alert. She pleaded no contest to a misdemeanor charge of filing a false police report. City prosecutors announced on Friday. You can thank Charlene Gatson for you turning off your Amber Alerts. She was immediately placed on 3 years probation and ordered to serve 60 days in the Huskow. So there you go. Yeah, you don't do that. Not in the day of the Amber Alert, by the way. Why are California women giving birth at record low rates? This is kind of a curious thing. Last year, the state reached a historic milestone, the lowest birth rate on record, 12.4 births per 1,000 people. That rate was 12.3 for LA, Orange, Riverside, and San Bernardino counties. And a Southern California news group analysis of state projection shows that the region's rate could fall another 24% by 2040. And that means everybody, by the way. The pace of motherhood in California is slowing, and its members are aging, a shift that demographers expect to continue and contribute to far-reaching and uncertain changes in the decades to come. Now, this is what's really weird about this. We're at a point in California where 1/3 of America's, of all of the welfare recipients in the United States, 1/3 are in California. Also, the number of Californians on Medi-Cal is almost 40% of the state. And this is what's really weird, is that normally in social welfare states, which is what California is, it's America's France, women give birth to more babies because more babies means another check per month. But this is not actually happening in California because one demographer theorizes that even with all that free junk, you still can't stay ahead. California is actually so expensive that the state of California cannot give you enough free stuff. And that goes for homeless veterans. Mayor Eric Garcetti has made a pledge to end veteran homelessness, a signature of the Garcetti administration, that and free kittens, probably mandatory kittens for everybody. But he scrapped a timetable earlier this year after the numbers continued to climb, because as it turns out, if you tell homeless people of any cohort that you're going to give them free stuff, they will come like a magnet, like moths to the free stuff. A $5 million program to assist homeless veterans has helped only 268 get off the streets over a year and a half, according to a recent LA County civil grand jury report, in part because $1.2 million contract to provide interim shelter has been delayed for nearly a year. So some of these providers had been expected to furnish shelter for 72 or more, but they were losing their sites and where they're buying stuff. It's one of the silly programs where if you think that you're going to take the people who call themselves veterans and are homeless and you're going to give them free houses and that's somehow going to cure their homelessness, that's their issue, but you're not going to build a fence around LA County, then it's never going to work. And then, well, by the way, if in 2018, if they take up that single payer plan for California, where the state of California pretty much puts everybody on a British style, state-provided single-payer health insurance plan, you watch this state's population go up by 3 million in the first year. And by the way, there'll be 3 million people who are not taxpayers. They will be people who are recently diagnosed with things that their insurance won't cover, and they will move here. And if you move to California and you want in-state tuition, you have to reside here for at least a year. Work, whatever, maintain a utility bill, whatever. But that single payer thing, if that works, and dear God, I hope it doesn't. But if it does, you watch. people will move here for that free health care with chronic conditions. But there will not be a residency requirement like there is for in-state tuition. Why do I know that? Well, because, I don't know, I live in California. I've seen this crap happen. We are getting word that in Seal Beach, there's a SWAT team on scene. And it has been since 8:30 with weapons out and the whole thing. So we haven't, I don't know any more details about it than that, but that's an ongoing thing. Will Smith is supposed to be the genie in the live-action Aladdin remake. I don't know how you replace Robin Williams. No clue. Absolutely. I mean, because that Robin Williams instrument was his voice, and the voice matched, animation. And with animation, you can make a face stretch like the genie did. But anyway, Will Smith is going to be the live-action genie, and then a bunch of other people are going to be the live-action Jasmine and the live-action Aladdin, and I'm sure it'll be just really huge. It'll be great. All right, well, that is Super Hyper Local Sunday. That means that if you're out there, if you're a street criminal, a gangster, a carjacker, or a cigarette thief, you can't do anything because we're wrapping up the news. And KFI is a station of record, and that means that when we stop reporting the news, it's no longer news. That's just the way it works. So thanks to Josh and fill-in producer Alex and Michael Chappé. Tomorrow, big day tomorrow, at my house, we have designated 2 roosters to croak. Tomorrow's it. Yep. Yeah, and nominee number 1 was real easy. It's this a-hole that keeps attacking my daughter, and she just can't wait. She's going to personally do him. Yeah, so he's had it coming. The other one, we're not sure. We're gonna flip a coin. But tomorrow's a big day. By the way, chicken dinner at our house. If anyone wants to come by, there's gonna be more than we can eat. All right, so Super Hyper Local Sunday. I'll see you Tuesday with Bill Handel for Tactical Tuesday. So stay tuned for that. KFI M640, more stimulating talk. Alrighty. Yeah, we're gonna kill a big light brown cock and then a big red cock. So that'll be tomorrow. And my daughter made a point. She said, "You know what? I wanna learn how to kill a chicken, and then gut him and clean him and the whole thing." So we'll crank that out. Yum yum. Free range. No antibiotics. All right, everyone. We'll see you on the YouTube.